Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Akram Elias, a member of the Global Ties U.S. Advisory Council and a very proud supporter of the national meeting. Yeah, and I am truly delighted to say a longtime supporter of the Global Ties Network, the IVLP, international exchanges, and public diplomacy writ large. Dear friends, I'm honored to be here with you today to share more about the Citizen Diplomat Award. The Global Ties U.S. Citizen Diplomat Award honors individuals and institutions for outstanding achievements in furthering the cause of international understanding and global engagement. Nominees are motivated by a deep understanding of world issues, and they're truly committed to the exchange of persons and ideas. Current or former staff member associated with a community-based member, national program agency, the U.S. Department of State, as well as liaisons and interpreters working on IVLP projects can submit nominations for this award. Awardees are selected from a broad range of fields, including the arts, culture, government service, science, media, business, and education. The award started in 1987 and was first given to Senator J. William Fulbright for his vision, leadership, and support of international exchanges and public diplomacy throughout his career. Thank you all for being here to celebrate this prestigious award. I leave you now with Sherry Mueller, my colleague on the Global Ties U.S. Advisory Council, former president of NCIV, distinguished practitioner in residence at the School of International Service at American University, and a longtime dear friend, a face and name I am sure you all know very well. Dr. Mueller will introduce the 2020 awardee of the Citizen Diplomat Award. Sherry?
Akram, thank you so much for that generous introduction. You are a superb proponent of citizen diplomacy yourself, and it is most appropriate that Akram introduce this award. He's contributed so much to the State Department International Visitor Leadership Program and Global Ties over the years, and I was privileged, when I was president, he was on our board and he chaired the 50th anniversary gala. I first knew him in the 80s when he was an Arabic interpreter taking visitors from the Middle East around the United States. But what Akram does, he always does with a commitment to excellence. So I think that's why it's so important that he introduced the award. I will confess that I was in the audience as an NCIV board member in 1987 when Senator Fulbright received the award. And there have been many distinguished participants, including Maya Angelou. I remember working with Jackie with the World Affairs Council of Seattle when you nominated Rick Steves, author and travel guru. And I remember working with the Rochester Global Connections when they nominated Garth Fagan, who is the choreographer of The Lion King and took his dance troupe to South Africa. So Dave, we've had a distinguished group of recipients of this award, and it is really an honor to introduce you, who will extend this impressive legacy. David took, I guess it's the proverbial lemons into lemonade kind of story, but David was running for a friend who had cancer in the Boston marathon in 2013. And he's a survivor of the bombing that took place there, still has some physical effects from that, including hearing loss. But he took that traumatic experience and turned it into a teaching and learning opportunity for many people in the United States and around the world. And he serves as executive director of an organization he started called One World Strong Foundation. And that works to build to help the recovery, to build the resilience of people who are survivors, the families of victims, and also the first responders. He has engaged in a variety of public diplomacy activities, and probably the one, of course, closest to my heart is the fact that he's a frequent professional resource for international visitors. And I'm assured by World Boston President Mary Eintema that your work exemplifies citizen diplomacy at its best. So not only does he receive many groups of international visitors, he's also been instrumental, because of the IVLP program, in creating and helping to launch a sister city relationship between Newburyport, Massachusetts, and Cardo, Somalia. He works very closely with the Department of Homeland Security, with FBI assistance teams to help devise cross-agency responses to traumatic events around the world. So I sort of asked Dave earlier, I said, is it okay if I say you're involved with exchange programs? Because I wanted to conclude my introduction of him with some words that Senator Fulbright wrote in a book called The Price of Empire. And the senator said, "The only thing that gives me hope is the belief that international relations can be improved and the danger of war is significantly reduced by producing generations of leaders who, through the experience of exchange, will have acquired some understanding of each other's cultures, and that people can find the ways and means of living together in peace." So it's my honor to present the 2020 Citizen Diplomat Award recipient who has accomplished so much, David Fortier. Dave, you give us hope. Thank you so much. Should I take that?
Gotta keep it safe.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. An absolute pleasure to meet you today and an honor. First off, wow. The lights are bright. And thank you all. You are just an incredible organization. The Global Ties Network, I didn't realize how big it was until today. So my experience has been with a wonderful organization in Boston called World Boston. They nominated me, and if I'm going to embarrass both of you, Mary and Sarah, if you could stand up, please. Thank you. Thank you both. So when I read the nomination that Sarah so kindly gave me, I really had to take a step back and just realize kind of how far we have all come. It's only 2 years that we've been doing this. We were doing some ragtag things before that, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But I also realized, while I was reading what Sarah had put together, just how many people that we've been able to reach through World Boston and through IVLP. We've reached actually thousands of people in a very short time span. And we work with survivors, families that have lost loved ones, and first responders, because first responders are often left out in the healing process. And they're very near and dear to us because of what happened in Boston. And if 2 years ago you had told me that I would be here today, I would have laughed. There was a time when speaking to people like this probably would have had me eating for 2 days. And also, I will have to fully admit, there are some folks at the State Department that know this about me, but my introduction to the State Department was through IVLP. And that was the first of now many acronyms that I've had to learn in dealing with the Department of State. And at my first meeting at State, I actually made the mistake of asking some of the folks that were there if they had some kind of a book that I could use to help me understand everything that I was hearing on conference calls. Because many times it was just letters strewn together with an and or an or an it, and even at that point I wasn't sure if they were talking about IT. So anyway, the document really showed that we've also got a long way to go. But before I get into where we are now, I want to show you very quickly, kind of, so you have some context, really where we've been in the last couple of years. So with Boston, it really began as a way to heal. The city did a fantastic job of bringing the survivor community together in Boston. They actually had dinners for all of us, much like this, with our families. There were get-togethers. There were a lot of things that they did really right. But one of the things that happened, it was actually outside of the control of the city. So at the Boston Marathon that day, when everything happened, it was actually being broadcast live. Very rarely do you catch a terrorist event on live TV. Right? So very near and dear to a lot of us in Boston is an organization called the Semper Fi Fund. And some of you may know them. Show of hands if anybody knows the Semper Fi Fund. Okay. An absolute wonderful group of people. And some of their members came to Boston. And they came to Boston because they knew what we were all going to be facing. They had been injured in Iraq and Afghanistan. They knew what the injuries would be from those bombs. And they wanted to be there to help. And we are approaching now 7 years from Boston, right? 7 years from the Boston Marathon this spring. We are still in touch with many of them in Boston. Right? We come here to run the marathon now, just down the road here, the Marine Corps Marathon. We do events with them really in many different places now. I'm going to be with some of their members in London for the London Marathon, where One World will actually have a team. So with their visits to us, what that really gave us was the very first time many of us realized that we'd be okay because we were talking to somebody who had experienced something similar. So there are folks in Boston with amputations. There are folks in Boston with burns. There are folks in Boston dealing with post-traumatic stress, hearing loss, shrapnel damage. The list goes on and on. Those folks came and were able to share with us what that healing process would look like. It gave us somebody to connect with, and it made a huge difference in our lives. And there was such an outpouring of support in Boston for the folks there that we felt compelled in our healing process to want to reach out and help others. And really what we realized is that as a group, we were much stronger together, right? We could do more. It wasn't we were on our own trying to put our lives back together. We had folks that we could lean on, folks that had experienced something similar with us, and folks that had experienced something similar thousands of miles away, but could share what worked for them and what didn't. And what we started to see, we started to be connected to survivors in other places. Just people would find folks on social media. We were connected to people in Newtown, Connecticut. They had reached out. There was a school shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, right? 9/11 families, others. And what became really apparent for us is that with all these connections and seeing those bonds form between people who had experienced a similar form of trauma, we needed to do something with this. And two big turning points for us. 2016, Orlando nightclub shootings, just quick show of hands. People familiar with what happened there? Okay. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree. And it were people in Boston that people that were injured in Boston who wanted to go to Orlando to help those folks. So we all got together, we figured out a way to get 10 of us to Orlando, where we spent 3 and 4 days visiting people in hospitals, visiting people in rehab centers, people that were already out of the hospital. And we saw those same bonds form. And it became really apparent at that point that we really needed to build something. I was on a plane leaving Orlando, looking out the window, thinking, I want to find an organization that I can volunteer a few hours a month to that does this. Fast forward a few years, and now I volunteer about 100 hours a week to an organization that we had to start because we couldn't find one that did what we wanted to do. So the other big turning point for us, there was a bombing in Somalia, in Mogadishu, in 2017, so not that long ago, right? 600 people were killed in that bombing. Almost as many were injured. One bomb. It was very important for us to try to find a way to reach out and help those folks as well. Because the healing process in other countries and the services that are available are nothing compared to what they are here in the States. And it was important for us to find a way to do that. So the logistical challenges in building something, right? How do you build an organization that can reach out and help in places like Somalia, places like Mali, Nigeria, Niger, Chad, Turkey, the list goes on and on. And then how do we interact, right? We've got language challenges. How do we deal with those? So along comes Sarah and World Boston. And they had called me up and said, hey, we've got this IVLP coming through. Again, first acronym, I had no clue what it was. Yeah, sure, I'll stop by. We'll talk about Boston. I'm happy to do that. And I realized at that meeting what those connections could be, because those were folks that had come over from Manchester in the UK, where the Ariana Grande bombing had happened. And we had wanted to connect with a lot of those folks. And Sarah and World Boston did a wonderful job in helping us to do that. I actually then went on a trip with other members from Boston to Manchester, and we've made those connections. And those connections have actually gone on to grow, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But first, I wanted to show you the connections through World Boston. Okay? As somebody who is just starting out a nonprofit to connect with people and not knowing any of you folks and what you do, and not knowing what the State Department does, we were connected to all these different countries. I can't even begin to, I started to do the math on what it would cost to visit all these people in all these different countries, and I gave up. But through IVLP and what you do, we have access to folks that we would never have access to. And we've been able to build One World Strong faster than I imagined that we'd be able to do it. So with that being said, really what we have developed is something we call peer-to-peer humanitarian diplomacy. Right? It's folks that have similar injuries reaching out to folks that have other injuries, similar. Right? It's nothing more than a platform that exists for people to reach out and help others when they reach that point in their healing process. That's what One World Strong is. Now, the logistics that go into putting that together are quite tricky. But I want to share with you 3 quick stories, because I'm on a strict time limit. But please feel free. I'm going to be around today. I'll be around part of the day tomorrow. But please, you can ask questions shortly, but please come to me and reach out. But it was important that we brought people together without regard to race, religion, politics, ethnic background, religion. None of that mattered. It was just people helping people, right? And to do that, to form that interconnected community, the first one where you see the flag, the UK flag, right? That first picture on the top there, okay, top left, is my IVLP to the UK. And being introduced to families, and being introduced to families that had lost loved ones. Those connections have now gone on to some of those families visiting others around the world. So when the Christchurch, New Zealand attack happened, folks from Manchester went there that had lost a loved one. One of the folks from the mosque in Quebec City, who was injured in the mosque attack there, has gone there as well. So we're using One World as a platform for people to reach out and help others and make those connections. And that's how powerful IVLP has been just on the UK side. And we'll pull on that thread in another couple minutes. Go over to the far right for Somalia, okay? Through Sarah and Mary, I met a young woman from Somalia. She's now a resident here in the States, but she had immigrated here in the 90s. I told her about us wanting to reach connections overseas and into Somalia. She helped us to put together a sister city program with a city in Cardo and a city in Newburyport, Massachusetts, which is north of Boston. Okay, that program is just with schools, and it's just focused on sports and art. And there's a reason for that, because we learned through sport and art that the State Department actually has organizations that can help with that. Again, I didn't know anything about that before this time. So I have a meeting tomorrow here at the State Department to discuss sports and art between these two schools. But between the two schools, there are over 4,000 kids. The teachers and the kids can interact on video and communicate with each other that way. And we hopefully want to grow that over time to more cities. The one in the middle, real quick, and then I've got to stop, is a program that came through in Jordan. It was a Middle East program. It was an IVLP that came through. And I remember it vividly because there were 3 or 4 different interpreters involved on that trip. And I think we used the full 2 hours. I had quite a headache when I was done from wearing the earpieces and trying to understand what was being said. But one of the things that was born out of that was the concept of a One World Marathon. Okay? As One World Strong, we wanted to bring people that were injured to Boston to participate with us, use the Boston Marathon as a way to heal and to connect with others. And the folks that came across in that IVLP helped me to understand that there are countries in the world that we can't even get people to that are here. They're in other countries, they can't get here, or the process would be too long to get them here. So we came up with a virtual global marathon, and that all happened through the IVLP. That virtual global marathon just last year had over 7,000 people participate from 64 different countries. And, and I say all that because it was born from what you all do and the importance of what you do. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. I am going to share with you a video, so cue that here in a second. This video was done by kids in the UK about what the One World Marathon means. What does it mean when people come together to work toward a common goal? These kids did this on their own with the help of a very special guy named Alan Fraser, who was instrumental in helping these kids to realize what this is and what the potential for a One World Marathon could be. People working across borders, ethnic backgrounds, and politics to work toward a common goal. So please, if you could play that for everybody.
We're all different, but the same, sharing our victories, sharing our pain. Everyone is up to the task, don't have to be strong, don't have to be fast. So tell me what you're gonna do about it. There's a positive message, then we can shout it. We can all make a change one step at a time, 'cause everyone's in. Never give
So those kids were from Cranford Community College, just outside London, a huge, diverse population. They came together to put that together. Now, before anybody asked, we did not ask kids to go out and run marathons. Okay, that did not happen. Don't do that. I think marathons are nuts. But what we did was we asked people to team together, to form teams to complete 26.2 miles. And that's where the 7,000 plus people came together from 64 different countries. So very quickly, and I want to get into some questions and answers, and I'll take some time away from that. We're traumatized alone, but we heal together. That's something that we've come to know well. And a tagline that we use wherever we go is don't give up, never give up, and always find a way to move forward. So with that being said, I want to wrap it up. I've got Q&A, 7 minutes, is that about? We got about 7 minutes of Q&A, but also you guys can find me. You can find me online, ask anything. You guys are now a part of the One World family by having lunch with me, I guess. But thank you for your time, and please feel free. Any questions, you can ask anything, okay? Don't hesitate. And I can't see where people are with the lights, so and probably you're getting a glare from my forehead.
Hi, I'm Colleen Fleming. I work with the U.S. Department of State. Those were great photos, and what a great story. And could you please go up to Capitol Hill and tell that story? Because I think we would get more money for our program. And I can't do it myself. What do y'all think?
First of all, I'd be honored to do that. And secondly, I think we need to. I think there needs to be more programs like this and as much funding as you need to make these things happen. These connections with people are so important. I've seen it here in the States. We see it around the world. In some places around the world, you're lucky to get patched up physically. There's really no psychosocial support after that. What we do is, we're not doctors, we're not nurses, we're not therapists. We're just folks that were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And One World is simply a platform to be able to reach out and help other people. And it doesn't matter where they are. So if we can do that for you by what we do, please, we're happy to find a way to do that, okay? Oh, sorry, yep. I'm sorry, I just can't see out.
Happy birthday.
Yes, happy. We'll sing to you in a minute.
Yeah. Dave, would you talk about some of the characteristics of resilience? Some of us work with young people, and there's a lot of talk, are our children as resilient as they used to be? How do you look at this, and how do you get the oomph to run a marathon, for starters? But characteristics of resilience.
Characteristics. I think they really vary, and kids are so more resilient than people think. I think it sometimes falls to us as adults. We have some preconceived notions on things, but I think kids all in all are very resilient. And I think part of what we do with kids is we've tried to adapt to use things like the internet to our advantage, and social media for that matter. That's where the One World Marathon came from. We can't connect people without using the internet, so we're trying to use it for good. And we saw kids adapt to it very quickly. We had literally hundreds, and some of you have my business cards already, and if you don't, please feel free to ask. On the back of the business card, when their teachers explained what the One World Marathon was to them, a lot of the kids then started to draw pictures of what their vision was of it, right? And kind of in their mind's eye, what did the world look like coming together to complete something, to complete a goal? Because kids don't have preconceived hate, right? Okay, they learn to hate. And these pictures were people made of flags from many different countries that had come together, right? But the characteristics in terms of where they come from and what they want to do, they want to survive, they want to have fun, they want to help. And if we can help foster some of that by what we do, then we're all winning. I can see that. Mary? You're close enough, I can see you.
Hey, Dave. I'm wondering if you can share with us a little bit about how you handle what is a very contentious world, not just in this country, but politics and divisions creep into just about every aspect of life, it seems, globally. And that's not your deal. How do you protect your mission?
So to protect the mission, especially around politics, is like walking through a minefield these days. So, and I know you guys have all dealt with that, the embassies deal with it, everybody deals with it, right? So for us, we're politics, there's no sides, okay? We come down on the side of people, and we've held true to that since we started One World. We don't care whether it's left or whether it's right. We stay in the center on everything that we do, because we can't alienate half of the population that we would work with. So we've been able to stay away from politics for the last few years doing it that way. We'll continue to do that. It does present a challenge because some people come to us from places and they've got a very preconceived notion on things, but that makes it very difficult to work with other people because then you're alienating it. But us as an organization, we stay in the middle and strictly focus on people themselves. So yeah, it's tricky, but we do have to hold that way. But I do have to stop. I knew you were gonna come here with the hook and get me. So thank you. Please feel free to come and find me after. I'm gonna be around, and as you can see from what was up there before, you guys can find me in many different ways. Thank you so much.